Brodes Media.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday weekend, the 4th of July, barbecue and hamburgers, hot dogs, fireworks, you name it. I hope you enjoyed your time. Now it's time to get back into action, talk about some sports, talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, who won 2 of 3 against the San Diego Padres, which I will take any single day of the week. Now, it's great in this minor little view that we're looking at, but I need to see way more from this baseball team before I think anything different from what I've seen already so far this season. And by the way, I don't think much is going to change, but it's a nice little victory for sure from this squad. They have Jake Arrieta and the Chicago Cubs coming up next. They have Nick Pivetta and the Boston Red Sox after that. So we will see some friendly faces, I'm sure, just in a couple of days and throughout this week. So I can't wait. I'm anticipating that matchup for sure. But let's talk about what happened as the Phils took the first 2 games and then dropped the third one on Sunday on the 4th of July. So in game 1, walk-off victory, a 4-3 win. Bamboo Brad hits I don't know what to call it, a double home run. I mean, this thing was absurd. It was clearly called a double, and it was a double, but we'll call it a double home run. Phillies had the lead. Zack Wheeler throws a gem, but at 114 pitches, he was yanked in the 8th inning. He completed 7 2/3, and Joe Girardi got insanely booed as he went up to the mound to take him out of the game, and I thought that was an overreaction. Do you know how many people tweeted at me, and you can follow me, of course, at Brodes81 on Twitter. It's a phenomenal follow. I think you should go hit that follow button once again at Brodes81. But the amount of tweets I got, Brodes, what's Joe Girardi doing? What an idiot. He's a moron. He's a fool. Why don't you let him finish this and that? Look, Zack Wheeler giving you 114 pitches, 7 2/3 against this team. I know that we're all frustrated with the bullpen, but you can't run Zack Wheeler into the dirt just because your bullpen is egregious. You got to get the win, but you can't, because some are saying this, you need to manage to your team's flaws. So to put your squad in the best position possible would have Zack Wheeler go out there and pitch. That's managing the best way, keeping your number one guy out there. But what are you going to do? Have Zack Wheeler throw 9 innings and 135 pitches every time it's his name called because that's the best thing for this team? You can't do that. 114 pitches is plenty. Zack Wheeler did his job, and what it is we are just annoyed and bothered with this bullpen so much that you're allowing that to make you upset with reasonable decisions. Joe has been bad majority of the times this season. When I think of baseball managing for dummies, I feel that Joe Girardi has went against all of the baseball 101 decisions more times than not so far this year. With that said, this specific scenario, taking Zack Wheeler out of the game, there's no problem with that at all. I was a little surprised that they gave him the nod to go back out for the 8th, but when they did, I was totally cool with it. And then when you hear Zack Wheeler after the game recognize, look, this is long term. We need to think about my longevity here. I'm having such a successful season. The way I read this, he didn't say this part of it specifically, but the way that I read it is when you know you're having such a phenomenal year, and by the way, he got an all-star nod, and so did JT Realmuto. And real quickly, JT Realmuto does not deserve to be an all-star. He has not been that good this season. He's been on one of the biggest slumps of his entire career so far this year, and he did find a way to get out of it. He had a triple that got him out of a 3 for 36 issue, if you will. But JT Realmuto, it just tells you once again where the product of the catcher position really is in Major League Baseball. And the Phillies decided to put that much money in a position where teams all around the league that are thriving don't even think it's that important to put that much substance into. But I digress. Zack Wheeler thinking about, okay, I'm doing so well and I'm cruising and I'm dominating basically every time I'm on the diamond and my number gets called. Let's keep it reasonable here. Let's go 114, let's go 112, let's go 120, let's go in that range, but we're not going to go overboard. And let's be realistic. The 8th inning, they got out of that. The problem sure was Jose Alvarado in the 9th, and yeah, he got one out in the 8th to get out of that inning after Zack Wheeler was no longer in the game, and Alvarado then blew up in the 9th. Ranger Suarez had a tough spot to go into, but, he allowed a hit. There goes the lead. You were up. You had a decent lead. Now it's tied. Ranger Suarez did go out there for the 10th and do what he needed to do in that inning, and then Bamboo Brad stepped up, but ultimately yanking Zack Wheeler was not an issue for me, and what I think it is just people are hating Joe Girardi to an extreme, which I get why you feel that way. He has been horrendous. That is so clear and so obvious. This one, though, when you're just looking at this move on this given night, on this Friday night, after 114 innings in the 8th inning, there's no reason at all to scream. That is a basic move. I talk about basic moves all the time from a managerial standpoint. This is a basic move. It's time. It is obviously the right time to yank Zack Wheeler. It's just they don't have a lot really there. In the bottom of the 9th inning, though, before the game went into extras, you had Realmuto, Harper, and Andrew McCutchen, and none of those players could come up with that moment. You're thinking of, okay, here's your middle of the lineup. Let's see if there's something left in the tank. Let's see if your top dogs can provide that spark. And instead of going to the extras, instead of having Ranger go out there for the 10th, instead of needing Bamboo Brad to come up clutch, maybe one of your top priorities will deliver a smooth hit, but that wasn't the case. And from there, it went into this weird, crazy, emotional ride. I don't know why. I don't know why this organization puts us through hell every single night. It's never easy. It's always something. There's always drama. It's always intense. It always goes too far, and it eats me alive. But they ended up winning, and that's the major thing. Didi Gregorius returned in that game 1 against the Padres, and he hit a home run, which was spectacular. I mean, if you're looking for some sort of positives, I know Rhys Hoskins is. So if Rhys Hoskins is looking for his positives, Didi Gregorius coming back to the lineup and just giving it, baby. Giving it a long shot and trotting around the bases. Not a bad day at the office for Didi Gregorius to see that happen, and maybe that's something that, can really spark him, although they did give him that off day in Game 3, and Ronald Torreyes is out there making Derek Jeter-type plays. My pants almost fell off when I saw it because I didn't even recognize what was happening, and I don't know how that correlates at all, but I'll tell you what, it was a beautiful play, and it was stellar and spectacular to hear Tom McCarthy on the call and for his voice to rise the way that it did. It was just a damn crazy, solid play, and you watch the elite of the elite defenders in the league make those style of plays, and it truly was tremendous. But anyway, getting back to on track here, if we're going to go in our chronological order. Game 1, Phillies win 4-3. Moving to Game 2, it's a 4-2 victory. Manny Machado starts things off. Now, it was originally labeled an error for Didi Gregorius, but later on it was changed to a hit. Fernando Tatis early in the game, first inning, ends up getting on. Manny Machado crushes a bomb off of Zach Eflin. So you're down 2-0. How is this team going to respond? They just won the night before. Will there be any sort of momentum carried? And now you're down early. So will you fight back? Do you have the mental capacity? Do you have the mental power to come together as a clubhouse and string 2 wins together against an opponent that is extremely strong in this league, and they absolutely did. And who carried them? Bryce Harper and Rhys Hoskins, both of them hitting solo shots, and of course, Bryce Harper does it again. And I don't understand the hate towards Bryce Harper because other guys are not getting on base. I've been through this before. Andrew McCutchen earlier in the year was a disaster in the leadoff spot. Odubel Herrera has not been as smooth as he was earlier in the season, and that is costing Bryce Harper RBIs, costing Bryce Harper an opportunity to hit a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, a grand slam. The opportunities are not there. It's almost as if some would rather see a single instead of a solo shot because somehow the solo shot makes it look worse for Bryce Harper. It's not his fault. No one's on base. If no one's on base, all it is telling you is this team is not good enough in front of where Bryce Harper bats in the order. It's just that simple. He's crushing homers. Do you want him to not crush homers? Would you rather him walk? Would you rather him strike out? Like, what would you rather Bryce Harper do than hit a home run when he has a pitch that he can crush over the wall? I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out here how hitting solo shots is not really a testament to the person on at the plates. It's what's happening in front of Bryce Harper. And the Phillies are struggling in that area. But Rhys and Bryce carried the way with the solo shots, and then after JT tripled, Harper knocks him in with the sac fly. Hoskins got an RBI double. They win 4-2 in that moment, and you had rain delay with Eflin. It was before the game started. It was during the game. Eflin went 6 innings, allowed 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 Ks, 2 walks. I wouldn't say it was the smoothest Zack Eflin I've ever seen, but considering the circumstances and hearing Joe Girardi speak about where Zack Eflin was physically, maybe a little bit mentally as well, for him to give you 6, and then your bullpen. How about this? Falter, then Bradley, and then Suarez. And Suarez earned himself a chance to close, and he did it just fine. And not only did he do it, but there were top players on the Padres up to bat. You're talking their powerhouse unit. You're talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. You're talking about Manny Machado, and he accomplished the goal. Now, what confused me a bit, which just defines where this franchise is, and I've already mentioned 7,000 different times where listening to Joe Girardi made my head spin in circles way too damn fast. But it happened again where we've been hearing how many times Jose Alvarado is our closer. They were not willing to move on from Hector Neris. They finally pull the plug on Hector with the closer role. They commit to Jose Alvarado. Jose Alvarado is available, but they felt Ranger Suarez was best for that moment. Why? Why would you feel that way? That just tells me that you don't feel that strong about Jose Alvarado. It's that simple. I don't know why you're overthinking this, why you're making the statements that you're making, why the delivery is the way that it is for Joe Girardi. It's just that simple. You don't fully believe in a player. There's no one in this bullpen that makes you feel satisfied, which is fair to say because reality is no one does. No one feels comfortable with any selection that is picked. So you can say that, Joe. You're going to go on gut feel night by night. I don't know why. Well, Jose's the guy. Jose's the guy. Alvarado's the guy. He's going to be our guy. And then here's a closing moment, and you go with Ranger Suarez when Alvarado is an option. It just really is mind-blowing, and it goes back to the communication and how there's no plan, and they're just randomly throwing things out there and seeing what sticks, which is just not a recipe for success whatsoever. Remember the other day, this ties together with the dysfunction, when Rhys Hoskins had a random off day after he hit a home run the night before, and I claimed I watched this baseball team for how many years now since Rhys Hoskins was on the squad. We know what he is. He's a streaky fucking hitter. That's what it is. He's streaky as shit. Well, when you hit a homer, you don't take Rhys Hoskins out of the lineup. Why? Because he can get red hot, and he can turn this thing around, and he can help produce runs for you. Well, here he is after that off day, and he's giving you something. But, I mean, it just, Did the off day really stop him if he's producing runs like this in game 2? I guess you can make the argument not necessarily. With that said, though, it still upsets me because that game that he did have the off day, I knew it was coming only because I have so much data and information on the Rhys Hoskins era as it is to tell me that he is going to turn it around in that moment and he is going to explode. You lost a day of a hot Rhys Hoskins that you no longer had because you just wanted to give him an off day. It doesn't make any sense. Majority of the decisions made by this franchise doesn't make any sense, and it's so simple, so it pisses me off. It just pisses me off because I can see it. I analyze the game from my couch. I analyze the game every night watching just from my TV screen, yet, the people who are baseball for lifers can't figure this out. Please, riddle me that. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. They faced Yu Darvish in that game, and prior, he had a 2.44 ERA with an 0.94 whip. So the fact that Yu Darvish was, getting his chance, and he was cruising too, so far all the way throughout this season, and the Phillies were able to, kind of do enough. 4 runs isn't lighting the world on fire. It's not 9 runs, 10 runs, and blowing through Yu Darvish, but Rhys Hoskins, JT got that triple, Bryce Harper, you got your bigger named players stepping up against a pitcher who was throwing extremely well. When you think about who was pitching for the Padres, you see a name like Yu Darvish, you see a name like Blake Snell. To take 2 of 3, even though they lost the game against Blake Snell, and Blake Snell only threw 4 innings, there was definitely more of a chance to maybe knock in some runs and produce more offensively, that the Phillies just fell flat on their face. You think about who was coming to town, to take 2 or 3, it definitely is solid. A sweep would have been definitely nice. Maybe it would have, in a fake way, changed our perspective on things, but, I need to see way more baseball. And the Cubs have been struggling big time. The Cubs are in a really tough spot, so can the Phillies take advantage of that, or is their miserable play, the Phillies' miserable play, that is, going to help out the Cubs get back on track? Because sometimes, seeing the Philadelphia Phillies can absolutely help your team get back on the right direction and shift everything back into gear. So let's not rule that out of the equation. All right, so Game 3, it was an 11-1 loss, and it was basically just a flat-out beatdown. Vinny V had some trouble, 6 innings, 9 hits, 3 walks, 5 earned runs. He was getting himself into trouble. So Manny Machado had 2 home runs. All these runs were scored with 2 outs, which is just amazing. It really is crazy that all of these runs are scored with 2 outs. But when Vinny V ends up walking guys, you put players on, and Vinny has been pretty solid this year of pitching out of unfortunate situations or pitching out of traffic when there's players on bases. But when Manny Machado comes in and he's just swinging the bat perfectly and he's grooving, and he had a spectacular series just crushing the baseball at a Citizens Bank Park, and there were people in the stands to see it. That's for damn sure. I don't know if it was the holiday weekend that got people buying tickets and sitting themselves in Citizens Bank Park, or it was the fact that you have players. Think about this. The San Diego Padres, and my answer is a combination of both. I don't think it's just the Padres and their roster that got people into town and got people buying tickets, and I don't think it was just the holiday weekend. It was probably a combination of the both. But the San Diego Padres coming from out west to Philly got people that excited, that juiced up. Fernando Tatis Jr., you got to watch them. They have a really fun team. Eric Hosmer, I already went through some of their top pitching players as well. Their top pitching players. What the hell type of a combination is that? Do I even know what baseball is? Do I even know how to speak baseball? Shame on me. But their top pitchers were on the bump, but it's just watching that team. I joke around about it all the time on Twitter and whatnot. Good thing I'm a Padres fan. They're so damn electric. They're so damn fun. They really are a really special group, and they have 50 wins right now, and they're third in their division in the NL West, which is just crazy knowing how strong of a team they are. If they're playing in any other division, they probably have more wins because they're not playing the Dodgers and they're not playing the Giants and they're not playing those teams as much, even though I did watch them take care of business against the Dodgers pretty damn recently, and they can go toe-to-toe with those teams. But if they're in a different division, if they're in the NL East, could you imagine? They'd probably have 58 wins. They'd be cruising. They'd be easily in first place, just kicking ass, taking control, and waiting for the playoffs to basically start with their feet up, relaxing, going through the motions. But, they're in a tough spot with that division, and it makes it fun from an outsider just wanting to watch fantastic baseball. But it's got to be a different type of mental battle when you know how really good you are, when you know how important winning the division is, when you know where the wild card stands. And it's just interesting. That's all. Very interesting. All right, so what else happened in this game? Neris. So Hector Neris, who was just crazy, and I stated on the Fanatic. So I was on the Fanatic 7 to 10 p.m. Saturday night. So that was during the Zack Eflin game where Ranger Suarez came in and completed the job. And I mentioned how if I could choose, just because I don't feel good about anybody, knowing that Hector Neris has done it before, I wouldn't be against going back to Hector Neris. And then, of course, he ends up having such a terrible outing here on this Sunday afternoon game. But the problem was he actually did his job. What do I mean by that, Brodes? Well, he got his third out. The problem is the umpire just had an egregious third strike call that it was a ball in his eye. Somehow hitting the strike zone is called a ball. So what would have ended the game then turned into just a nightmare scenario. Batters getting on galore. And I do need to question Hector Neris at that point where, okay, you got screwed. Okay, you got boned. How do you react to that adversity? What is the next step that's going to occur? Are you going to shell? Is there going to be a shell that comes over and you're just going to be horrendous? Are you going to flip the bird off to the umpire, not physically, but with your play by shutting the door to the next batter? You just completely fell apart, and it got super damn ugly there. And I said the game would have ended. Not really. I'm just saying you would have got out of that inning. It wouldn't have been 11-1. You would have moved on. My point, though, is with Hector, he made the proper pitch, and he probably 99.9% of the time would have got out of that with an umpire who had two eyeballs and would have made the simple play. It's crazy how such a poor decision by the umpire completely changed where Hector Neris is right now, where he just got obliterated and annihilated. And man, that was an ugly outing for Hector. And that's tough. It's tough to bounce back from that emotionally. It's tough to bounce back from that with the brain side of things, because Hector has been struggling. And to think, you talk about it all the time. It only takes one hit for a hitter to get out of their funk. It only takes one game sometimes. If a hitter is 3 for 36, like JT Realmuto was, he hits a triple. And then the following game, he had 2 hits on the board, which sometimes it just takes that one hit. Well, with Hector Neris, sometimes it could just take that one outing. All it takes is 3 outs, bang, 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 let's go into the dugout. Bang, 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 let's go into the dugout. Just something nice and simple. And the alternative after a really bad call by the umpire was, wow, I just got annihilated, and I don't know how to bounce back from that. And it could change. It could change the future stretch of Hector Neris. So it was tough to watch, that's for sure. Andrew McCutchen left the game with an injury, and we'll get into that in just a second. But first, DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in on all the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up. Bet on any of the NBA final games. There's an NHL Stanley Cup game still remaining. Plenty of baseball games to bet on. That's promo code Brodes. And all these odds and promotions that are available are for a limited time. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Wager paid out. Insight credits. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, so Andrew McCutchen leaving the game. It's always something with this team, whether it's Didi Gregorius, whether it's Andrew McCutchen, whether it's Bryce Harper getting banged up constantly. there's definitely been an issue. JT Realmuto at one point, there's been problems with health, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to end. But with where Andrew McCutchen is in his career, it's not very shocking. It's not very mind-blowing that we are in this situation. It sucks because, I don't know. Maybe I'm going way too far here, and maybe it's more of a reach, and I'm willing to admit that I could possibly be giving Andrew McCutchen too much credit, but, which is, maybe that's a harsh statement. I don't know. Maybe I'll just make the damn statement already and stop blabbering. If the Phillies stink, which I will assume they will stink by the trade deadline, is Andrew McCutchen, the way that he's been swinging the bat, a name that maybe a team that is in contention would be willing to make a trade for? Now, the problem is he makes a lot of money, and that would scare me if I'm an opposing team. But if you're looking for that added bonus, could Andrew McCutchen, the veteran player who has been swinging the bat way better in this run than he had in the beginning of the year? I mean, the beginning of the year was a disaster for him, but he definitely turned it around in that aspect where would a team be okay with an Andrew McCutchen? Would they be willing to make a trade for Andrew McCutchen, even though knowing he makes a lot of cash? If you think that's what it is, that's going to put you over the hump to go win a World Series, well then, yeah, I mean, you take what it is and then you move on from him after the season's over. But with an injury, does that impact the ability to do that? Now, like I said, maybe I'm going out too far. Maybe I'm going out and reaching. Maybe no one would want him because the money is just too large. That is possible. I'm not ruling that out. But now if there was possibly a chance and he is injured for however long with this oblique, could this cost the Phillies the chance to do that? Not that the compensation would be extremely large. You're just basically buying a rental if you're an opposing team. But anything is a prospect at this point. Get prospects. Get it all. Everyone's available. Dave Dombrowski, everyone should be available. Trade anyone on this roster. Trade all of them. Trade 5, 6, 7 guys. Trade Nola, trade JT, trade anyone. Neris, Hoskins, trade Zack Wheeler. I know that's crazy, right? But my thing is, where the timeline is for this franchise, it doesn't matter how good Zack Wheeler is. What if you blow it up and keep Zack Wheeler, what's having Zack Wheeler do for you? It does nothing. It doesn't add up. None of it's going to add up. I love Zack Wheeler to death. He's my favorite pitcher to watch right now. I'm not all around the league, but obviously being a Phillies fan, and I'm not just saying based off of the Phillies starting 5 here because it's not like that's a crazy statement to make, but he's one of my favorite pitchers. Jesus, one of my favorite pitchers. I don't know why I'm all over the place right now. One of my favorite pitchers to watch. Fastball command, slider. You know what he does with pitching to contact with the sinker. Okay, cutter in the mix. Curveballs being thrown around. Change up occasionally. It's so tremendous to watch what he does. But this timeline is so screwed up with the franchise and where the path is that Nola, Wheeler, Hoskins, Harper, JT, Bohm, Odubel, McCutchen. I don't care. You need to build this thing up all the way from the bottom. Where Matt Klentak came in and he made that statement of we're going to rebuild this thing, you're right there again. That's where you are. You're right there again. You're not close. And it's sad to say that, right? You just won 2 or 3 against a 50-win team right now in the Padres, and I'm talking about blowing it up. But it's reality of the situation, and enough is enough with this crap. Really, I mean, it's, I can't stand watching Alec Bohm. Some of the plays that he makes, whether it's effort, whether it's just knowledge of the game defensively. Oh, well, when we move Reese, we'll put Bohm in first. He's going to stink at first. Oh, well, maybe we can put him in left field. He's going to stink in left field. Remember Reese Hoskins in left field? That was an embarrassment to the sport of baseball. Alec Bohm can't defend, and he's a horrendous power hitter. He's not what you thought he'd be. It's a shame. It really is. But Alec Bohm is not the power hitter that we needed him to be. Does that mean he's absolute ass? No, he's not absolute ass at the plate. He is defensively, which ruins everything because right now he's just kind of like at the plate. And I know he had a hot June, but I'm just talking about in general. He's just at the plate because his power's not really there. And if you're at the plate and you're this version of defending, well, what are you? Because to me, Alec Boehm is basically unplayable right now. You can make errors all the time if you're Fernando Tatis Jr. because you can back that up with 26 homers and almost getting ready for 30 homers so far this season. Your offense overpowers your flaws defensively. Alec Boehm is not even close to that. So, it's a joke sometimes to watch where we are right now with this franchise. And it's frustrating. It really is, It's annoying, and it bothers me, and the bullpen's a nightmare, and it's the same garbage every single night. And, it's getting hard. It's getting hard. I'm grinding through it. I'm grinding through it the best that I can, and you can talk about the poor division all you want, but it doesn't change the fact that this team's not likable. There's nothing with this team that makes me excited. Watching Joe Girardi, he lost the connection with this fan base. He talks about how frustrated he is. I don't like listening to his post-game answers because I think they're just horrendous. I don't like this team's defense. I don't think their hitting is strong enough, even though it's not their weakest part of the team. Their bullpen is clearly, you look at the number of saves blown by the week. It makes you want to throw up in your mouth and then swallow it and then be like, what the hell did I just do? Just throw it in my mouth and swallow it? And they're like, oh my God, it's nasty. That's what it makes you do. Not fun. Not a fun team. Which is telling you a lot when I get annoyed because I'm a baseball addict. Sometimes you just watch other teams. There's a reason why I bought the MLB TV package. I got all the out-of-market games for a reason. So thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes, and we'll see you guys next time.